The 10-day vacation of the academy had begun, called the Golden Vacation, which had been created due to the school anniversary of Easter of the Loon Church in the weekend. The students equipped themselves with their backpacks and began to leave the academy to visit together the imperial capital or visit their families, and everyone was having a lot of fun. However, not all students were enjoying this vacation. At the same time, Vicar and the others entered the orphanage, and according to Tudor, Vicar should be grateful since they had also returned by refusing to take a break. Tudor, who was walking behind everyone, started looking at Vicar with a cheerful look and with a smile explained that the reason behind this was that they also needed to fill their volunteer hours. Sancho, who had his hands behind his head, turned his head towards Tudor and couldn't help but smile as it wasn't a bad idea to end this now. Piggy, who was walking next to Vicar, started to show 4 fingers and with a cheerful look said that he was fine since he liked to volunteer. Vicar, who was walking in front of everyone, started to look down and thank them. This orphanage was gigantic. It had luxurious lamps hanging from the ceiling and a lot of windows, which allowed the light from outside to enter the interior. Tudor began to observe the place with a surprised look and asked if this was really the Indulgentier orphanage. He was impressed since it was on a different scale than the rest of the orphanages. This orphanage was considered the largest in the capital, with a kind smile. Peggy mentioned that the headmaster here was the founder of the Foundation for Orphans and he was also an external teacher at the academy. Sancho, who had his arms crossed, seemed somewhat surprised and asked who that headmaster was. Peggy began to point sideways with his finger and explained that he was the person in the painting. Next to them was a wall, which had a painting of Quilty Lun Indulgentier, who was smiling. What nobody knew was that Dantalion was the headmaster of the orphanage. Tudor and Peggy approached the painting and began to observe it, and Peggy explained that he was the head of the Indulgentier family, a family on the mother's side of the Quovidier family. He was popular and seemed to have a lot of influence within the Lun Church. They started to imagine Quilty and dollars. And speaking of the Lun Church, apparently it was well known that there was a conflict between him and Saintus Dollars due to differences in religious views. With an indifferent look, Tudor mentioned that he did not want to get involved in a fight between families. Peggy, who was standing next to him, simply started to observe the painting with a smile. Vicar, who was behind them, simply remained silent. He began to stare at the painting and his eyes filled with suspicion as he remembered that this guy was the popular headmaster of the orphanage. The rays of sunlight began to enter the room, illuminating Quilty's painting. Vicar decided to find out what this guy was like once he met him. After a few hours, Vicar and the other students who had come to volunteer arrived in the main hall. A nun and a monk appeared alongside the orphan children who were wearing white clothes. The nun, who had her hands resting on her abdomen, with a kind smile explained that she would like the volunteers to be teachers for the children during the next 10 days. With a look full of confidence, she mentioned that if they took good care of the children, they would never forget their kindness. She asked them to please treat them with the heart of parents. Tudor, Sancho, and Peggy began to look aside and could not help but feel somewhat confused. Next to them were also Bianca and Sinclair. With a confused look, Tudor asked what those two were doing here. Bianca started to look at him with a gaze full of rage. She clenched her teeth tightly and couldn't help but get furious, while on the other side, Sinclair simply remained calm. Without losing her composure, with an angry look, Bianca explained that they were doing volunteer work, and also that she should be the one asking why they were here. Tudor extended his hands to the sides, closed his eyes and with a mocking smile asked if a hero needed a reason to do good things. Upon hearing this, at first Bianca got even angrier seeing that once again he had brought up the topic of heroism, but then mocked him saying that this was something to be expected from a Don Quixote. While they were talking, Sinclair approached them and explained that meeting like this by coincidence must be a matter of destiny. Upon hearing this, the gaze of Vicar and Peggy was fixed on her. She brought her fingertips together, began to look at Vicar with a tender gaze, and while she was blushing, she caught his attention. She lost her composure, panicked, closed her eyes, extended her hand towards Vicar to greet him. She said that they hadn't been able to talk much, but she hoped that they could get along well in the next 10 days. Seeing her behavior, Piggy was left speechless as he didn't know what was happening. And Vicar, who was standing next to him, became alert and looked somewhat surprised. Vicar shook her hand and replied that he also hoped the same. Once they stopped shaking hands, Sinclair turned her back to them and began jumping for joy. She couldn't believe that Vicar had shaken her hand. Piggy brought his hand to his mouth and with a serious look revealed that he had a piece of information for him. Upon hearing this, Vicar turned his head towards him and with a curious look asked what piece of information. Sinclair started to blush like a tomato, brought her hand to her face. And she couldn't help but smile and feel happy. Peggy revealed that he had seen Sinclair looking for the person in charge of assigning volunteer work and making a request. She had asked where Vicar was going to volunteer and she had requested to be assigned to the same place as him, asking if Vicar knew what this meant. Vicar began to observe her with a serene look and he did not take long to realize that she had approached him under the pretext that it was a coincidence. He decided to be careful with her in the future. At that moment, Vicar turned his head to one side as something caught his attention. In the room they were in there were several monks and several nuns. While some were conversing, one of the monks began to go up the stairs. Upon looking with a little attention, Vicar saw that the headmaster was not here. The time for the children to choose their teachers arrived and all the children, some nervous and others excited, began to run towards Tudor and the others. Tudor picked up a girl and a boy in his arms, who were very excited. Tudor couldn't help but smile, and with a cheerful look, he thought that they were all very social. Two children became friends with Sancho and he started to carry them on his back. Bianca, who had a somewhat conflictive personality, calmed down and felt at ease seeing the children. With a calm look, she began to stroke the head of a grey-haired boy, thinking that he was very cute. Vicar also chose two children. She sat on the floor, opened a storybook, and with a smile began to tell them the story, making the children's eyes fill with joy. While on the other side, Vicar, with a penetrating gaze, caught the attention of several children and asked what their names were. Upon feeling Vicar's gaze, the children's eyes filled with tears and fear. Without hesitating for a second, the children ran towards Piggy. He began to pet one of their heads, closed his eyes and with a forced smile, asked Vicar to try to smile a little. Vicar started observing him with a confused look and remained thinking in silence. He began to imagine the small and cute Pomeranian. And with a serene look he remembered that she used to listen to him well, but now for him talking to these children was very difficult. At that moment, a blonde girl ran past him. And upon feeling her presence, Vicar's gaze fixed on her. The girl ran out, approached the door and using her hand opened it. Vicar turned back, started to observe her and couldn't help but feel somewhat confused. The girl went outside and leaned her body against a pillar. While the sunlight was coming through the gaps of the pillars, she simply began to look down at the ground and remained silent. Her eyes were filled with sadness, as she could not find a teacher to her liking. While she was distracted, Vicar appeared, crossed his arms, leaned his back against the pillar and mentioned that he felt overwhelmed in places with a lot of people. Upon hearing his voice, the girl couldn't help but go into shock. She didn't know how Vicar had gotten here. With a calm look, Vicar began to look at her and explained that if he wasn't careful, people might think negatively of him, asking why she had left. The girl's eyes filled with worry. She began to observe him and stayed thinking in silence. Without a second of doubt, she looked away, turned her head and closed her eyes. She did not want to talk to Vicar. Vicar, who had his back against the pillar and arms crossed, realized that his plan had not worked. He began to remember what once his friend from the tribe had explained to him. She started moving her cheek using her finger to show a smile and with a serene look explained that if he asked like that, the child was not going to respond, so he should try asking while smiling. The girl wore a golden pendant with her name. She was called Perry. Vicar approached her, sat in front of her, rested his hand on the ground, started looking into her eyes and called her by her name. The girl opened her eyes and they filled with surprise. She was somewhat confused and did not know how Vicar knew her name. Several seconds passed and she did not respond, and seeing this, Vika began to show a kind smile, and with a cheerful look asked if Perry was her name. Upon feeling Vika's gaze and smile, the girl's eyes filled with astonishment. She knew that she could trust him. But far from responding, she turned her back on him and without hesitating for a second, ran away, leaving poor Vika somewhat confused. He began to observe her and couldn't help but wonder if he looked that bad when he smiled. While he was distracted, someone wearing white clothing started walking towards him, saying that she didn't believe the girl had run because she hated him. She was none other than Saintess Dollars. With a cheerful look, she revealed that she had seen everything. Her eyes filled with surprise and she couldn't help but smile. She didn't know why he was grotesque, but now she realized that our boy was quite kind. Vika stood up and with a calm look asked what President Dollars was doing here. She approached him, placed her hands on her abdomen, and with a sincere look revealed that Perry's heart had been hurt before, so for this reason she had closed it off. As a result, she developed aphasia and lost her voice. Vika turned to her and with a curious look asked what had happened to her. Dollars began to look down and with a sad expression mentioned that she didn't know the exact details. But she had been born in the orphanage and in the last 13 years she had met countless volunteers who had passed through here. In front of them, there was a dark hallway and Dollars explained that at first, everyone her in a friendly manner, but after one day, they stopped coming due to their busy schedules, so she assumed that Perry must be tired of attaching to someone in a short period of time and then mourning their disappearance for a long time. Vika began to look at Perry with a sad expression and fell silent. At that moment, the previously dark hallway filled with footsteps. Someone wearing boots started to walk. Upon sensing this presence, Vika's eyes filled with fear, causing him to start sweating like crazy. While he was distracted, Dollars put her hand on her chest and with a happy look explained that Perry had reacted very well to him. She assumed that she was going to be fine with him. So she asked him if he could take care of Perry. At that moment, Vika put his hand over her mouth so that she would stop talking, causing her eyes to fill with confusion. She couldn't help but panic since she didn't know what was happening. Two men started walking down the hallway. The man in the green suit turned his head towards the other and mentioned that he was so busy that they rarely got to see each other. The other man simply started to walk in silence. He was none other than Dantalion, or better known as the headmaster Quilty. While he had his hands behind his back, he closed his eyes and with a smile explained that there had recently been a sudden increase in the number of people who had requested face-to-face talks to confess their sins. Behind him was his subordinate, Afebo, who now had the face of a human. The man wearing a green suit said that for this reason he also needed to buy the exemption. Quilty opened his eyes, began to observe him and with a calm look asked how long he needed it for. Vika covered Dollars' mouth with his hand and took her hand with the other hand and leaned back against the pillar to avoid being discovered. While Afebo was walking behind them, the man and Quilty who were walking ahead started to converse with each other. The man wanted to buy 1 billion worth in gold. Quilty asked if he had recently killed someone, to which he replied that he had killed a barbarian slave that he had bought not long ago who had escaped. And on the way back to capture he had been disciplining him, but unfortunately the barbarian died. Quilty was left somewhat confused and asked if he was buying 1 billion in exemption just for having killed a slave, but the man revealed that on the way back, as he was still angry, he had burned an entire village of slash and burn farmers. Vika turned his head towards them and quietly asked her to please be silent. Dollars' eyes filled with surprise as she did not know why he was doing this suddenly. Vika began to feel a strong smell and his eyes filled with rage and started to shine. Quilty and the man who were conversing among themselves began to move away from them, and the smell that Vika was feeling came from Quilty. Quilty, who had his hands behind his back, said that 500 million was fine for something like this. The man extended his hand forward and decided to give the other half as a tip to God, who was forgiving his sins. The smell that Quilty's body was giving off was the same as that of the elite corpses. Seeing that the man wanted to give a tip to God, Quilty couldn't help but smile with joy and think that it was sacrilegious, explaining that giving offerings to God would make God forgive everything. Upon hearing this, Dallas couldn't help but go into shock and her eyes filled with surprise. She didn't know what was happening here. The man started to laugh since he felt that he was always learning about faith from him. Quilty, who had his eyes closed and arms behind his back, could not help but smile even more, thinking that he was too kind. Dallas began to lose her composure and could not help but get angry. She wanted to give Quilty a good lesson, but Vicar forcefully covered her mouth to prevent her from making noise. Vicar asked her to wait, since if she made a move now, they were going to be discovered. Dallas started moving her feet, asking Vicar to let her go. At that moment, upon hearing the noise, a Phoebo appeared and with a penetrating look began staring at them. Upon feeling the presence of a Phoebo, Vicar, who was covering her mouth with his hand, panicked and his eyes filled with fear. He knew that this was not good, while on the other side, Dallas remained silent as she did not know what was happening nor who this guy was. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part,